All right, moving on here on the Variety Podcast. It's now time for a PRISM break.
Hey!
Yeah, that's been the big story the last couple of weeks. The National Security Electronic Surveillance Program operated by the NSA, PRISM, by the way, is code name for a data collection effort officially known as US 984XN, but that didn't make for a good Twitter handle. Now, there are lots of technical details involved in here, but basically what was leaked, by the way, leaked by a guy named Edward Snowden, a 29-year-old contractor for the NSA, basically a middle employee, who leaked these a PowerPoint presentation to The Guardian and The Washington Post, who is now in China.
Which doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't say much for his cause either. But he alleges in his presentation that the following companies have given access to user and metadata to the U.S. government. The companies are Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, YouTube, Skype, AOL, and Apple. So basically every company that you ever use online. So that's not so good. But that's been the big story. Now, there have been some controversial aspects to this in terms of whether it really happened or not. All those companies basically denied that they did it. But over the last couple of days, the NSA has come out to say that this program has foiled over 50 terror plots, including one at the subway system and one at the stock exchange. So the government seems to be outing themselves here, and the conversation shifts to, is this morally right? And I'll put you on the spot here. Is it worth it?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, foiling 50 terror plots, that's obviously a good thing. But this Snowden guy basically said that the NSA is spying on Americans. But he didn't really back it up, and then he just left for China. Who does that?
By the way,
if you're looking for freedom, do you go to China?
Well, I guess he thought that there's some sort of that there's no extradition treaty with Hong Kong, which is where he is officially, is in Hong Kong. But I guess that's not the case. So
He could be working for the Chinese government, Steve. We just broke that story. No, I honestly don't know. I think...
You know who does know? Donald Trump has said, quote, I have no doubt that he's a bad guy. So we might as well just stop talking about this now. You know, he's a bad guy, case closed.
With that hair, how do you trust that Donald Trump?
Exactly.
No, I honestly think that they're cataloging these calls. I said cataloging a little weird there. I think they're cataloging these calls.
They're cataloging
These calls that Americans are making. And I think they have access to them, of course. But I don't think they're necessarily listening in on everyone, but maybe they are. But the thing that kind of bothers me, Steve, is that I also read that they might be reading people's emails. And you're not allowed to do that. I mean, that violates... Well, doesn't that violate the Patriot Act? I thought that's what the Patriot Act allows them to do. I think you're wrong.
Because things did change a lot after 9/11, obviously, for obvious reasons. And a video actually surfaced, well, it wasn't a hidden video, it didn't surface, but was made available of Shia LaBeouf, who was on The Tonight Show in 2008 promoting a movie called Eagle Eye. And he seemed to say that this program has been in place since then. Here's a clip of that.
I remember we had an FBI consultant on the picture telling me that they can use your ADT security box microphone to get your stuff that's going on in your house, or OnStar, they could shut your car down. And he told me that 1 in 5 phone calls that you make are recorded and logged. And I laughed at him, and then he played back a phone conversation I'd had 2 years prior to joining the picture, the FBI consultant. And it was like one of those phone calls, it was like, you know, what are you wearing type of things.
Really?
Yeah, so it was mad weird.
Wait, so you mean they had a record of you from
2 years prior to me joining the picture.
even being associated with the movie?
With the movie.
Well, that seems
It's
creepy.
extremely creepy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
I'm trying to think of what the last 4 phone calls I made.
That's what I'm saying.
So, very interesting. You see how Jay was kind of at a loss for words. You don't really know what to say about it. And that was in 2008.
Yeah.
It's like 6 years ago.
Allegedly, the program started in 2007, so that would make sense timeline-wise.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, this Snowden guy, has he broken a law? Like, he hasn't been charged yet. Will he be charged?
I think
when
he
they find
has
him?
broken a law because they are classified documents, and under the law, I don't pretty sure you're not allowed to unveil or expose classified documents. Now the question really is whether this whole program is legal. Now, I guess according to Obama, it's not. By the way, he said that they're not monitoring calls, but the calls don't necessarily need to be actively monitored for this to be a story. It's all about the metadata, right? So if someone says terrorist plot in New York, there's so many, there's things like Siri and Google Voice. There's so many capabilities here to, through algorithms, figure out what you're saying and, put it to text. So even by us saying those words on this podcast,
yes,
we might be being tracked by PRISM. So PRISM, if you're listening to us right now, first of all, listen to the Podomatic feed. That way we at least get the hits. But second, we said those words in context of the story. But that brings up the whole point was, are you going to, it's not even a matter of censorship, because a lot of people are worried about that in the Fourth Amendment and everything, but of self-censorship. Like if you know you are being tracked and listened to, are you going to be different online or on the phone?
It's very interesting. I mean, I got nothing to hide. But you know what? The more I think about this, can we just get one thing straight here? It is constitutional for them to catalog the calls but not listen to them. Is that correct? Do we agree on that?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure that is 100% true.
Right.
Doesn't make much sense saying that. But yes, I'm pretty sure it's 100% true. But do I think they're actually listening to the calls? Yeah, I think the more I think about this, it's like, why not? People do weird things all the time. If you have that access, if you have that capability, do you not think you're going to press play or whatever the equivalent is with their system? Of course they're going to listen.
At least for me, I want to wrap this discussion up here, but I think it's important that they use it for the right purposes. I think most Americans, actually there was a survey that said that most Americans were okay with the surveillance program, but as long as it was used in the context of foiling terror plots, right? And like they said, if it foiled up to 50 terror plots and we didn't know about it, then that's great. And I think most Americans would think if what you're doing with this program is avoiding acts of terror or preventing acts of terror, then that's cool. But if they start getting real nitpicky and they start busting down your door because you mentioned on the phone that you smoked weed with a buddy last weekend, that's when things start to cross the line, I think, or really minor things, like, I downloaded this video off whatever website.
That's extreme. I don't think they would be doing
so I
that.
think as long as they put clear guidelines that say this is the program and this is what we use it for and that's only what we use it for, I think most people would be okay with that. That's my opinion anyway, and that's what the show is about.
There you go.
Sorry,
all right.
not that this show is about my opinion. The show is about our opinions, and that just happened to be mine. What is your opinion?
Did I just get fired?